3 years ago, my life unraveled in ways I couldn't have imagined. I'm 52 now, working as a senior operations manager for a logistics company, and I used to believe I had a solid, if not flashy, life. My wife, Rachel, and I were married for 26 years. We raised our daughter, Emma, who is now 25. For most of her life, she was my greatest pride. Smart, focused, and always someone I could count on. We didn't live extravagantly. Our home in a quiet Oregon neighborhood was paid off, and we lived comfortably on my income, with Rachel working part-time at a local school office. She was once content, I think. But over the years, something shifted. She started spending more time away from home, connecting with new friends. Most of them wealthy, polished women with lives filled with beach photos and fancy brunches. She dove into yoga, started dressing differently, and gradually pulled away. Her phone was always glued to her hand, tilted away from me, locked the moment I came near. When I asked her what was going on, she said she needed space to find herself. She dismissed my concerns as insecurity. Meanwhile, Emma started acting differently too. Once warm and chatty, she became reserved. I'd often find her whispering with Rachel, glancing my way like they were keeping secrets. But despite the coldness, we kept talking about Emma's goal of buying a home. She was excited but worried about affording the down payment. Rachel started hinting, then openly suggesting, that we should help Emma with the money. I had a savings account meant for emergencies or retirement, built slowly over the years with bonuses and a small inheritance. Eventually, I gave in. I wired Emma $120,000. She hugged me tightly, cried, called me the best dad in the world. 3 months later, after Emma's housewarming pictures hit social media, Rachel sat me down. It was an ordinary Tuesday, but her words shattered my world. She was leaving me for another man, Colin. He had money, class, ambition. She spoke like she was closing a book, not tearing our life apart. And then she told me Emma had known for months. She had found messages on Rachel's phone, but decided her mother deserved to be happy. Emma had let me give away my entire safety net knowing her mother was walking out the door. Couldn't believe it. My daughter, my little girl, had smiled in my face, let me fund her future, and all the while she knew. That night, Rachel packed her bags and walked out. Colin was waiting in a sleek Mercedes around the corner. She didn't even look back. I tried calling Emma. She didn't answer. I drove to her place, saw her car in the driveway, knocked, called her name. Nothing. She hid from me like I was a stranger. In the weeks that followed, I barely functioned. The house felt cold, quiet, unfamiliar. I consulted a lawyer to see if I could recover the money. He was blunt. No agreement, no proof, no legal recourse. It was a gift, and the law doesn't reverse generosity, even when it's taken under false pretenses. Rachel filed for divorce but didn't fight for anything. Colin was funding her life now. I kept the house, but it felt like an empty shell. I sold it eventually, moved into a modest townhome, started over. Quiet life. Work, books, long walks. Took time, but I rebuilt. Not just my finances, but my peace. Then last month I got a call. Rachel. Colin was gone, his finances wrecked, investments failed. She was broke, jobless, out of options. Emma wasn't doing much better. She'd lost her job in a corporate merger and was struggling to cover her bills. They both needed help. They asked to meet. I agreed and chose a small cafe downtown. When they walked in, Rachel looked worn down, Emma nervous. Before they could speak, I did. I told Rachel she made her choice when she left. That she didn't just walk away from a marriage. She torched the foundation of the life we'd built together. Then I turned to Emma. I reminded her that what hurt most wasn't just her silence, but her complicity. She let me hand over my entire savings, knowing her mother was leaving, knowing I was being deceived. I said I had nothing left for either of them. Not money, not trust. I wished them well, but made it clear I was no longer their backup plan. Then I stood up, left the cafe, and never looked back. They showed up pretending like nothing had happened, as if all the wounds they left behind had healed simply because they were ready to speak again. My daughter smiled at me, that same warm look she used to wear when she was little. the one that once melted every frustration in my heart. But this time it felt like a mask. I remembered her silence. I remembered the messages she'd hidden, the way she had defended her mother's betrayal, the absence of even a sliver of remorse. I looked at them, not with anger, but with resolve. "You're here hoping to open a door you slammed shut long ago," I told them, voice steady. "But that door doesn't exist anymore. I'm not your fallback. I'm not your emergency exit. I'm not the man you left broken." They sat frozen. Rachel tried to speak, but I raised my hand and shook my head. "This conversation is the final page in a book you closed. I'm walking away. Goodbye." And I did just that. I stepped out into the cool air of early evening and felt something I hadn't felt in years. Light. Not happy, not yet, but free. That conversation was a turning point. I realized I didn't owe them anything. Not explanations, not comfort, and certainly not support. They had made their choices, and now I had finally made mine. In the days that followed, I expected backlash. Accusations, pleas, manipulative apologies. But there was nothing. Silence. Maybe they were stunned that I didn't cave, that the quiet man they once dismissed as weak had found his spine. It hurt. I won't lie, especially when it came to Emma. A father always keeps a little room for hope. But I've learned hope can be toxic when it ties you to people who no longer see your worth. So I let it go. I gave myself permission to stop waiting for the daughter who stopped seeing me as her father the day she chose sides. 6 months later, my life began to feel like mine again. I joined a local hiking group. I went on weekend road trips. I started reading again. More than I had in years. I reconnected with old friends, including Lauren, who had recently gone through her own difficult divorce. We met for dinner just as friends. That turned into coffee, then long walks, then something more. There was ease in being with her, no drama, no pretense. Just two people sharing stories, laughing softly, and giving each other the space to breathe. She never pried. When I shared what had happened with Rachel and Emma, she didn't try to fix me. She just listened. And sometimes that's all healing needs, quiet understanding instead of noise. One morning, heading out the door, I found a letter in my mailbox. No stamp, no name, just my name in familiar handwriting. Emma. Inside were words I never expected. "Dad, I don't know if you'll read this or if you'll even want to, but I needed to say something without asking for anything. You were right about all of it. I made a selfish, hurtful choice. I told myself I was protecting what I had left, but in the process I lost you. Shame kept me quiet. Pride. Fear. I don't deserve forgiveness, and I'm not asking for it. I just want you to know I'm sorry. For the silence. For the betrayal. For using your love like it didn't matter. I've started therapy. I've distanced myself from Mom. She's still blaming everyone else. I'm not writing to blame her. I just see it more clearly now. If you ever want to talk, I'd be grateful. But if not, I'll understand. Love, Emma." I read it 3 times. My hands trembled. Was it genuine? Couldn't tell. And, for once, I didn't feel the need to decide right away. I set it down, took a breath, and went to work. Life went on. It's been nearly 4 years since Rachel walked away. Lauren and I are still together, no fireworks, just steady warmth. I've met her kids. She's met my circle. We laugh a lot. We don't raise our voices. There's no manipulation, only peace. Emma and I met once after the letter. We sat for coffee. I thanked her for writing it, told her I hoped she was doing okay. She cried. I didn't. She didn't ask for anything. I didn't offer. We haven't spoken since. But the door, at least, isn't locked, just quietly closed. People say time heals. That's only partly true. Time helps, but healing comes from clarity, from setting boundaries, from finally choosing yourself after years of being left behind. Forgiveness doesn't always mean welcoming someone back in. Sometimes it just means allowing yourself to move forward. Rachel assumed I'd always be there to catch her. Emma thought I'd always offer shelter. But in the end, I became something neither of them expected. A man who found peace by no longer giving it away to those who never earned it.